Welcome back to the channel. When we talk about World War II, we are often obsessed with machines. We analyze armor thickness, muzzle velocity, and engine horsepower. We treat tanks like the M4 Sherman as chess pieces on a tactical board, debating whether they could face a German Tiger head-on. But we forget one essential thing. That machine is not just a weapon, it is a home, and more brutally, it often becomes a tomb. Today, we will not talk about specifications. We will talk about survival. The story begins. Imagine you are Evans. You are 21 years old and your entire universe has just shrunk to the size of a wardrobe. You are a loader inside an M4 Sherman tank rumbling through the thick hedgerows of France in the summer of 1944. The first thing that assaults you is not fear, it is noise. It is physical torture to your senses. The Ford GA8 V8 engine right behind you is not merely running. It is screaming a continuous deafening roar that vibrates up through your boots and makes your teeth chatter uncontrollably. Outside, the steel tracks grind the earth, producing a rhythmic but piercing metallic shriek, drowning every thought in your head. Inside the turret, the air is so thick you feel like you could chew it. It reeks of hot oil, unwashed bodies, stale cigarettes, and the sharp metallic taste of gunpowder from the last shell fired. You are drenched in sweat, your uniform stuck to your back like a second skin, rubbing against the rough metal edges of the ammunition racks. You check the rack for the 10th time in a single minute. The 75mm high explosive shells are slick with grease. Your job is simple but brutal. Grab the shell, ram it into the breech, and get clear of the recoil path. Do it fast or everyone dies. The tank lurches violently as it climbs a small embankment. You are thrown into the turret ring, your shoulders slamming into cold steel. New bruises stack on top of old ones. This is normal. This is daily life, and then the world collapses. It does not begin with a sound, it begins with force. A gigantic sledgehammer blow from beneath the hull lifts 30 tons of steel into the air as if it were a child's toy. The sound arrives a fraction of a second later. A thunderclap explosion so loud it bypasses your ears and resonates directly inside your chest. The tank spins through the air, gravity disappears, and you are tossed like a rag doll, up into the roof. Darkness swallows you as the interior lights shatter. Then comes the impact. The Sherman slams into the ground, not on its tracks, but on its side. The sudden silence is heavier than the noise before it. Your ears ring a high-pitched whine, drowning out the groans of your crewmates. The air instantly fills with dust, flaking paint and smoke. You cough violently, choking, fumbling through the dim chaos. You cannot tell which way is up. You reach out and touch the breech block of the main gun. It is searing hot. You try to orient yourself. A shaft of sunlight cuts through the dust. The commander's hatch is cracked open. Out. Bail. Out now. The commander's shout sounds muffled, distant. Panic, cold, and razor-sharp cuts through your concussion. The tank is dead. You are a sitting duck in a steel box. You crawl over the gunner, whose leg is twisted at an unnatural angle, struggling toward that sliver of light. The commander shoves the hatch open wider, ready to burst into fresh air. Crack. A sharp sound like a whip, followed instantly by the terrifying ping of a bullet ricocheting off the hatch rim. The commander yelps and ducks back down, blood streaming from a cut on his cheek from flying metal fragments. Another shot rings out, sparks spraying off the turret edge. A sniper, or maybe a machine gun nest. They are watching the exit. The commander slams the hatch shut and locks it. The heavy thud of the steel latch sliding home sounds like a prison cell door sealing shut. The only light vanishes. You are plunged back into the dim gloom, lit only by the faint glow of instrument panels and dusty beams slipping through vision slits. We button up, the commander whispers, his voice trembling with adrenaline and terror. We wait for the column to catch up. You slump back into your seat, heart hammering like a trapped bird. You glance at your wristwatch. It is barely noon. The engine is dead. The radio is nothing but static. The ventilation system is off. And outside, the summer sun begins to bake the armor. The temperature starts to rise. You are not just trapped in a tank, you are sealed inside an iron oven, and the heat is only beginning. Time inside a dead tank does not pass, it drips. Thick, slow, and painful. Just over an hour has passed since the hatch slammed shut, but the silence has already begun to rot your nerves. Without the deafening engine or ventilation fans, the tank is unnaturally quiet like a held breath. But that stillness is a lie because the temperature is climbing. The M4 Sherman is no longer a vehicle, it is a heat sink. 30 tons of steel baking under the brutal French afternoon sun, absorbing every joule of heat and radiating it inward. The already stale air begins to shimmer with heat. You wipe sweat from your brow, but your hand comes away black with grease. It is not just heat, it is humidity. 5 grown men breathing, sweating, and panicking in a space smaller than a prison cell. The moisture from your bodies has nowhere to escape. It condenses on the cold ammunition racks and runs down the white painted walls like tears. Your uniform grows heavy, a sodden weight glued to your skin. It traps the heat against your body. You try shifting to find a cooler surface, but everything you touch burns. The breech, the radio casing, even the floor, everything radiates heat. Thirst hits not as a need, but as pain. It begins at the back of your throat, a dry, clawing sensation that spreads rapidly across your tongue. You reach for your canteen. It is warm. The water tastes metallic and stale, like sucking on a rusty coin, but you drink it anyway. You know you should ration it. You do not know how long you will be here, but the heat is draining water from your body faster than you can replace it. You look at the others inside the hull. The gunner slumps against his sight, eyes shut, face pale and slick with sweat. The driver seated low in the hull mutters to himself. He curses the commander for taking the wrong turn, for leading them into this trap. "Shut up," the commander hisses from the turret basket, his voice raw. "Save your breath." But the driver does not stop. The accusation hangs in the heavy air, adding a layer of psychological poison. It piles onto the physical suffocation. The camaraderie that once bound the crew in battle is evaporating along with the oxygen. You can feel the tension tightening. A physical pressure builds behind your eyes. Then your stomach betrays you. The combination of stifling heat and lingering cordite, mixed with the coppery smell of dried blood on the commander's cheek and the raw terror of the situation, hits all at once. Saliva floods your mouth, a warning sign. You double over, retching violently, then vomiting uncontrollably. There is nowhere to go. You vomit into an empty 75mm shell casing. You clamp it between your knees. The wet sound echoes in the silence. The stench, acidic bile, and partially digested rations instantly fills the turret. There is no ventilation to carry it away. It hangs there, joining the symphony of horrors, making the air even harder to breathe. "Jesus Christ," Evans, the gunner, groans, covering his nose with an oil-soaked rag. There is no malice in his voice, only pity and shared misery. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve, shaking uncontrollably. It is not just nausea, it is heat exhaustion beginning to take hold. Your head spins. You lean back against the firewall. It separates the crew compartment from the engine bay. The engine is dead, but the mass of iron still radiates heat from the morning's drive. It warms your back like a furnace. There is no escape. The sun remains high. The steel box is cooking you. Slowly, degree by degree, and you realize with mounting horror, the enemy outside does not need to fire another shot. They only need to wait. Dusk begins to fall over the French countryside, painting the sky outside in purples and burnt oranges. But inside your steel coffin, fading light brings no beauty. Only deepening gloom and a different kind of torture. The temperature drops slightly, just enough to stop sweat from evaporating, leaving you sticky and shivering in your own filth. But heat is no longer your main enemy. Now it is biology. War movies show men dying gloriously. They rarely show them living with dysentery. The tank's silence is broken not by gunfire, but by the low, pained groan of the gunner Miller. He doubles over, clutching his stomach. All of you ate the same K rations, processed cheese, hard crackers, and canned meat sitting like lead in your guts. But Miller's stomach has revolted. Maybe it is the water, maybe it is stress. It does not matter now. The sentence hangs in the air, heavier than cordite. In a house, you go to a toilet. In a foxhole, you dig a hole. Here inside a sealed M4 Sherman surrounded by snipers, there is no toilet, no hole, only the floor beneath you and the air you breathe. The commander hands Miller an empty 30 cal machine gun ammo box, a small wax-coated cardboard box. It is completely inadequate, but it is all you have. What follows is a scene of profound humiliation. Miller struggles to undo his belt in the cramped space, elbows smashing into turret hand wheels and periscope housings. You try to turn away to give him privacy, but there is nowhere to look. The turret is a circle of forced intimacy. You stare at the rivets in the wall, close your eyes, but you cannot shut your ears. The sound of a grown man relieving himself echoes off steel walls. Violent, watery, uncontrollable. It is the sound of stripping away the last veneer of a soldier, a hero, a man. He is now just a sick animal in a cage. Then comes the smell. It hits you like a physical punch, sharper and more invasive than the rot of the battlefield. Fresh waste in a sealed, unventilated space is unbearable. It mixes with the sour vomit, the tang of blood, and old fear sweat. It assaults your olfactory nerves, triggering your own gag reflex. You bury your nose in your elbow and breathe through your mouth, but you can taste it on your tongue. The air feels poisoned. Miller finishes, shaking, tears of humiliation streaking his soot-smeared face. He seals the box as best he can, but the damage is done. It sits in the corner of the turret floor, a radioactive object no one wants to touch, but all must live beside. Shame is palpable in the tank. No one looks at each other. You cannot. To meet another man's eyes now would be to admit how far you have fallen. To this, wallowing in your own waste while the enemy waits outside. The heroic image of the liberators of Europe evaporates. All that remains are 5 men, trying to hold on to their humanity inside a box slowly turning into a sewer. Darkness fully settles, but the stench remains. An invisible specter haunting the night, reminding you that before the Germans kill you, the tank will strip your dignity first. Midnight passes without bells or signals, marked only by the shift in temperature. The afternoon oven has become a refrigerator. The steel armor which trapped heat all day now surrenders it just as quickly to the cold night air. Your sweat-soaked uniform turns icy, sending shivers through your exhausted body. Inside the pitch-black turret, you cannot see your own hand in front of your face. You are blind freezing, curled against sharp machinery like a fetus in an iron womb. But you cannot sleep. Sleep is a luxury for the living, and right now you are merely existing in purgatory. The silence is broken not by an explosion, but by something far worse, the crunch of boots on gravel. At first, it is faint, barely audible through the ringing in your damaged ears. Then another step, and another. The heavy, rhythmic footsteps of German hobnailed boots on stone. Your heart pounds so hard, you fear the sound alone will give you away. The commander kicks your shin in the darkness, a violent, silent command to freeze. Every man in the tank stops breathing. You become statues of flesh and bone fused to metal. The footsteps stop right beside the tank. Through the cold armor, you hear voices, muffled, distorted by steel thickness, but unmistakable in tone. German. They are right outside. You hear metal clink against canteens, fabric, rustle, a match strike. The smell of cheap tobacco smoke seeps through vision slits, mixing with the waste stench inside. It is a surreal intimacy. The enemy is inches away, separated only by finger-thick steel. Then the tank groans. The suspension creaks as weight presses onto the hull. Someone is climbing onto the Sherman. Boots scrape against armor, echoing inside the turret like drum beats. Thud, scrape, thud. The ghost walks across the engine deck over the transmission housing, moving toward the turret. You look up into darkness, tracking movement by sound alone. He is standing directly above you. You imagine him there, a dark silhouette against moonlight, maybe holding a grenade, staring at the hatch you prayed was locked tight. A sudden sharp itch forms deep in your throat. Dust, smoke, and chemical fumes have irritated your lungs. You need to cough. The urge is instinctive, a rising tidal spasm in your chest. You clamp your hand over your mouth, pressing so hard your lips bleed against your teeth. Tears stream down your face in the dark. Your chest convulses in silent spasms. Your lungs burn for air, but you do not release it. To cough now is death. To cough is to kill everyone in this box. Clang. A rifle butt slams into the side of the turret, ringing through the hull like a church bell from hell. The vibration hums through your skull. They are testing the beast, knocking to see if anyone is home. Seconds stretch into hours. You wait for a handle to turn or the hiss of a fuse. But then a voice calls from the ground. Laughter. Weight shifts. Boots scrape metal again, moving away. The suspension sighs in relief as the soldier jumps down. Footsteps retreat, crunching back into darkness, fading until only wind and the rush of blood in your ears remain. You exhale a long, shaking breath that sounds like a scream in the silence. You survive the ghost, but the night is far from over. The Germans are gone, but they leave something behind in the darkness. Not a grenade or a bomb, but a silence so deep it feels like pressure building inside your skull. You are entering the darkest hour, the heavy, gray limbo between the death of night and the birth of morning. But inside the Sherman there is no morning. Only recycled air. 5 men have breathed for nearly 20 hours. Oxygen is dropping. Carbon dioxide is rising. And with that toxic atmosphere comes madness. It begins with the assistant driver, a 19-year-old kid from Ohio named Webb, seated at the bow machine gun. Throughout the nightmare, he has been the quietest, curled beneath sloped armor. But now, in the pitch darkness, he begins to mutter. At first, it sounds like prayer, rhythmic, frantic whispers clawing through the silence like rats on steel. Then the whispers change. They become questions. "Do you smell smoke?" Webb asks. His voice trembles, rising with manic intensity through your exhaustion. You sniff the air. You smell exactly what you have smelled all day: sweat, feces, oil, and cold iron. There's no smoke. "Webb," you whisper back, your tongue heavy and swollen in your dry mouth. "Go to sleep." No, I smell it." Webb insists, his voice growing louder. Gas. They're pouring gas into the vents. We're on fire. We're burning, and we don't even know it. Panic is contagious. It hooks into the reptilian part of your brain, the primal fear of fire. Sherman tanks have a nickname among crews, the Ronson. Lights first time, every time. You all know the stories. You have seen friends cooked alive when ammo ignites. Images of flesh sizzling flash vividly in the dark. It's just exhaust fumes, Webb, the commander snaps from above. Calm down. That's an order. But orders do not stop hallucinations. Webb begins kicking the firewall. Open it. We have to get out. We're being roasted. Can't you feel it? He is shouting now, shattering the tactical silence you maintained for hours. The sound is deafening in the sealed hull. If any Germans are nearby, they will hear it. Then the struggle begins. Webb is trying to open the escape hatch in the hull floor behind his seat. It is suicide. If he opens it, the seal is broken. If there is a mine underneath or Germans waiting, you all die. But in his delirium, the tank is already a crematorium. Stop him! The commander yells. You launch forward from the loader's seat. It is not heroic, it is a clumsy, desperate crawl over the transmission in the dark. You crash into the driver's seat, back hands groping blindly for Webb. You grab his tunic soaked with sweat. He thrashes violently, fueled by pure terror. He kicks backward, his heavy boot slamming into your ribs. A sharp crack explodes in your chest, stealing your breath, but you do not let go. You wrestle him in the cramped darkness, a tangle of limbs and curses. His hands claw at the floor hatch latch. You hear metal click. As he tries to open it, you hook your arm around his neck, dragging him back, but his body is slick with grease and panic. He bites into your forearm hard enough to draw blood. They're burning us. Let me out, he sobs, now crying. You have no choice. You cannot reason with a drowning man, and you cannot reason with madness. You tighten your grip, throw your weight, pinning him against the cold steel hull. You raise your free fist and strike blindly in the dark. You feel bone his jaw. He goes limp for a second, then thrashes again. You strike again, and again, until the screaming stops, until struggling fades to whimpering, then silence. You collapse on top of him, gasping for air that does not exist. Your heart pounds a frantic rhythm against the steel floor. Your arm bleeds, your ribs burn, your knuckles are bruised, but the hatch remains closed. You lie there in the dark, holding your unconscious friend, tears streaming down your face. You realize with sick clarity that the Germans do not need to kill you. The tank is doing it for them. You have become animals in a cage, turning on each other to survive. And as the sun begins to rise outside, promising another day of heat, the sun returns, a cruel joke. After freezing in darkness, the steel walls begin heating again, promising another day of slow roasting. Webb lies unconscious at your feet, breathing shallowly. You rest your head against the ammo rack, staring at a rivet in the ceiling, waiting for the end. You have accepted it. Thirst has swollen your tongue like dry sponge. Your head throbs with a dull, steady pulse. You are no longer soldiers. You are ghosts haunting a dead machine. Then the floor vibrates, not the sharp scrape of tracks from the night before. This is different. Low, heavy. It resonates in your bones. A deep rumble shakes dust from the ceiling. You look at the commander. His eyes are wide white, stark against his soot-blackened face. He lunges to the periscope, pressing his face into the rubber eye guard. Tiger, he whispers. The word sucks the last oxygen from the turret. A Tiger Y, the apex predator. It is not just a tank. It is a moving fortress with an 88mm gun that can slice your Sherman like butter. You drag yourself up, peering through the loader's periscope. You see it, 200 meters away, emerging from the tree line like a prehistoric beast. A boxy gray hull coated in rough Zimmerit paste the black cross on its flank like a target. It advances slowly, massive tracks crushing earth coming to inspect its prey. It thinks you are dead. It has come to be sure. We get one shot, the commander says, eerily calm. One shot before it realizes we're alive. Power traverse is dead, the gunner whispers. I can't turn the turret. Then we hand crank it, the commander shouts. Evans grabbed the wheel. Now you dive into the gunner's seat as he slides aside. You seize the manual traverse wheel, a cold, heavy iron disc. Without hydraulics moving, the turret is like pushing a boulder uphill. You grit your teeth and push. Gears groan in protest. Grind, clank, grind, agonizingly slow. Your muscles starved of water and food scream in protest. Sweat pours into your eyes, stinging and blinding, but you keep cranking. Grind, clank, grind. Through the sight, the Tiger grows larger. It pivots its hull. Its massive turret begins to turn toward you. The black eye of the 88th Mini Versace searches. If it sees movement, if it sees your barrel shift, you will vaporize. Faster, the commander hisses. Load, HVAP high velocity armor piercing. It's the only thing that might scratch it. You release the wheel for a split second and lunge back to the ammo rack. Your hands shake so badly you nearly drop the heavy cylindrical round. Pointed tip with a tungsten core, your silver bullet. You ram it into the breech. The metallic clang of the block sliding shut sounds like a gunshot in the silence. You pray the Germans do not hear it. Up you shout, slapping the breech to signal loaded. You leap back to the traverse wheel. The Tiger stops, 50 meters away. You can see the commander's cupola. You can see mud on its tracks. Its turret is rotating toward you. It is a race. A race between a dying American crew cranking a rusted wheel and a German machine adjusting aim with hydraulics. Hold! The gunner whispers, eye glued to the optic. A little right. More right. You push with everything left. You push with the anger of the heat, the humiliation of the toilet box, the terror of the night. You push until something tears in your shoulder. The Tiger's barrel aligns with yours. You are staring straight into the mouth of death. Fire, the commander screams. The gunner slams the pedal. The world turns white. Inside a sealed tank firing the main gun is not a sound. It is an atmospheric event. Overpressure hits you like a physical wall. Your ears instantly blow out, blood seeping from ruptured eardrums. Dust, rust, and smoke explode from every seam. Recoil hurls the massive breech block backward inches from your chest. The smoking brass casing clatters to the floor. The shock knocks the breath from your lungs, leaving you gasping in acrid propellant fumes. For 1 second, you are blind, deaf, and mute. You do not know if you are alive. You do not know if you hit it. You hear only the ringing silence of aftermath. The smoke does not clear. It settles. It coats your lungs, skin, and mouth with bitter, chalky residue. For a long, painful minute, no one dares breathe. The ringing fades, replaced by frantic ticking of cooling metal. You press your eye to the periscope heart lodged in your throat. Through the morning haze, you see the beast. The Tiger has not exploded. It has not burned. But it has stopped. Your round hit the left drive sprocket. The massive steel track lies spilled across the grass like a dead snake. The German tank slews, slightly exposing its weaker side armor, but its gun is silent. Then you see movement. Not turret rotation, but hatches opening. Men in black uniforms scramble out, diving into a drainage ditch, retreating toward the woods. They think you are not alone. They think you are bait for an anti-tank ambush. They are fleeing not from you, but from ghosts they imagine behind you. We got it, the commander whispers. It is not a cheer, it is a prayer. You collapse into your seat, legs turning to water. You want to laugh, to cry, but you do neither. You just stare at your trembling hands coated in grease blood and the filth of 24 hours in hell. Adrenaline crashes, leaving you hollow. Webb lies unconscious on the floor, moaning softly. Miller weeps silently in the corner. You are alive, but you do not feel alive. You feel like something unearthed from an ancient grave. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time has lost meaning. Then a new sound cuts through the hull. Not track grind, but the low growl of wheeled engines. Jeeps, trucks, voices. American voices. Check the markings. It's one of ours. A heavy knock on the hull. Hey, anyone alive in there? The sound of English is the sweetest thing you have ever heard. The commander reaches up, arm shaking with exhaustion, and unlocks the combat latch. He shoves. The hatch, sealed by fear and rust for a full day and night, groans before popping open. And then light. Blinding. A pure white assault that forces you to shield your eyes. The rush of air is not just oxygen, it is life itself. It smells of wet grass, gasoline, and distant sea. It is cool and sharp. It hurts your lungs as you take your first deep breath. You cough violently, hacking out blackened phlegm of battle, expelling the poison of the iron coffin. One by one, you climb out. You haul Webb through the hatch, passing him to medics below. When it is your turn, your legs betray you. You stagger onto the engine deck and collapse to your knees. You do not stand right away. You kneel there on the warm steel hide of the beast, gasping like a newborn. Medics rush in with stretchers and canteens, but you wave them off for a moment. You turn back and look at it. The machine that held you. From outside, the M4 Sherman looks small, covered in mud, scarred by shrapnel, streaked with black soot from its main gun. It looks like scrap, an ugly, mass-produced metal box. But as you run your hand along the well seams of the turret, you feel a strange electric connection. This machine was your prison. It was your oven. It was your toilet. But it was also your shield. It absorbed the heat, the blows, and the terror, so you did not have to face them with bare flesh. You hate it. You love it. You are bound to it. You are Evans. You are 21 years old. Yesterday, you were a boy who thought war was just shooting. Today, you are a survivor who understands that the hardest battle is not fighting the enemy, but enduring the waiting. You take a sip of water from the medic's canteen. It is cool, clean, and tastes like salvation. You look back at the black mouth of the open hatch. You know, part of you will never leave that box. Part of you will always be sitting in the dark waiting for the tiger. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the raw reality of the M4 Sherman tank. It is not just a set of specifications, it is a crucible of human endurance. We often praise ace pilots and brilliant generals, but the war was won by crews like this, ordinary men forced to sit in their own filth fight madness and hold the line inside 30-ton iron coffins. If this story made you feel even a fraction of what they endured, consider hitting like. It helps us share their story with more people. And if you want to join our crew on the next journey into history's darkest corners, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments if it were you. Would you risk opening the escape hatch or wait in the darkness? Let me know below. Until next time, keep the hatch locked and stay safe. Dismissed.